I've once again managed to tweak my Final Fantasy XI install a little bit too much, so I'm reinstalling the whole thing clean because, I don't know, stuff's messed up. But given that it's re-downloading a bunch of stuff today and I'm waiting to try out the new Matsui Trust that was just released, seriously, let me know your thoughts on that. I can't wait to see if it's any good. I thought I'd bring up an interesting topic that has been wiggling around in my brain a lot recently. Did Final Fantasy XI let you roleplay? So this isn't just a question for Final Fantasy XI, but obviously I want to pose it from the perspective of that game. Final Fantasy XI, 14, World of Warcraft's another great example. A lot of story-driven MMOs kind of feel the same way to me when I started thinking about this. Like, you're going to put into a role. You've got this silent character that follows on this grand quest to save the world, and you only see your character from the perspective of everybody else that's talking to you. Final Fantasy XI will occasionally, very rarely, give you a dialogue choice between like two options, and nothing ever really meaningfully comes out of it. Ultimately, you generally boil down to, seemingly, you're the good guy and you're gonna fix this, right? In older MMOs, you go back to EverQuest and like Ultima Online and even games that just don't have that story focus driving you from one point to the other. I feel like that wasn't really the case. You could be whatever kind of character you wanted to be. More freedom to be good, bad, neutral. Are you in it for yourself? Are you in it for others? Are you devious? Are you trustworthy? These are all things that you could play to those strengths as a character within that MMO, and you could still sort of do that in Final Fantasy XI, WoW, and Final Fantasy XIV. But it sort of always is toned down behind the fact that ultimately you're still this glorious hero that's being portrayed by the game. So the reason this is coming up now, obviously with games like Cyberpunk 2077 coming out this week, character development and choice and agency is a huge topic right now. And I've been playing a ton of D&D, and I realized that in D&D, I have a terrible habit of analyzing every single choice I make, from the most mundane to the most serious, very critically and analytically, being like, is this a strategically important choice? Is this a good decision? Is this going to lead us in the direction we want to go? Which, to be honest, I don't think is how you should play D&D at all. How you should approach it, in my mind, is how would my character react to this choice? How would they make this decision based on the tools, their mindset, the history that goes into forming who they are? Would they be sad? Would they be angry? Would they be quick to action? Would they be hesitant? Would they do something smart? Would they do something stupid? Would they do something that, 5 minutes later they're going to regret? Or things that maybe are a bad idea because of knowledge that you have, from a meta level, if you can see the whole perspective of what's going on. You may even have conversations with people with information that you as a character, as a player, know that the character doesn't. Anyways, can you make those decisions that the character would do that, but it's a bad idea? The times that we have done that, when we've just reacted saying, how would this character behave in this situation, are some of the most memorable D&D moments we've had. They're hilarious, they're interesting, they form conflict in places you wouldn't think there would be, and it creates what D&D is meant to be, this amazing exploration of characters and how they interact and creating situations in this cool fantasy setting. I bring that all back to, I've been trying to find games that do that, and I realized if there's ever a situation where role-playing should be present, it's in MMOs. Now, in many MMOs, they do offer role-playing servers, which, denote a server where role-playing is going to be heavily, not, enforced, but kind of expected. So you'll have characters that are saying things, players will be saying things in character with a background that they've devised for their character. But to me, that kind of more boils down to personality of how you interact. What is the history of the character? How do they behave around other people? It's a lot of communication effort, like you're often describing things that you're doing in game that might boil down to some button clicks and inventory management. I'm describing what I'm expecting out of this scenario. Let me know if you've played on a role-playing server and what that experience is like. How much does that filter down? What are the minimums and maximums you've seen of roleplay? But in my mind, even on those servers, you're still going to be limited by the story that the game is presented to you on those story-driven games. So no matter how much you might want to or think that your character would make a different decision, if the game says you're going to save the day, you're going to save the day. Not that that belittles the overall role-playing experience on those servers. I think that adds an extra level of flavor that some people would have it no other way. I think that's amazing. But it does kind of contrast, in my mind, with the story that the game is presenting to you. Does that make sense? I guess what I'm trying to bring this all around to is I feel like in Final Fantasy XI, in other MMOs, most MMOs these days, games that I love, by the way, I feel like I have no choice but to be the character that they've set me out to be. And I don't know where we lost that along the way. Because to me, that's sort of the foundational thing. Like, many MMOs came from the concept of, you know, tabletop RPGs and that group setting of like playing with other real people and enjoying that interaction, and like how would you decide and what choices would you make here and stuff. And at some point that shifted to the gameplay elements of how would you most effectively defeat this dragon, which is still tons of fun. I mean, I've played, you know, Final Fantasy XI for almost 19 years. I liked the formula. But why did we, or did we, am I just missing it, get away from the roleplay aspect? I guess you could say games like Star Wars: The Old Republic sort of tried to get back into this with the choice system that, you know, different players in the party could make different decisions in critical moments and say like, okay, I would like to kill this person, I would like to interrogate them, I would like to save them. And then it would randomly choose like who won in that classic BioWare fashion. But that was really cool, but is that enough, or is that just a cool kind of choice-based system to sort of give your character some flavor? But how much freedom did it really give you? I don't know. It's an interesting argument and conversation. Let me know if you love the Star Wars: The Old Republic system and wish that it had been introduced into more games. I found it really cool. I wish it was in a different game. I never really loved Star Wars: The Old Republic. I wanted to. I love Star Wars. I love the setting, and I love BioWare and the choice system, but yeah, something was missing. Anyways, just thought this would be a fun Friday conversation. I'm excited to try out the Matsui Trust. It's hilarious that it's a Tartar ninja black mage that skill chains, and I'm assuming magic bursts with himself. I think that was the original description. Anyways, I'll let you know. I'm probably gonna do a review of the Trust, as silly as that is, over the course of this next week. See if he's any good. Is he useful? Does he have a place in our big trust chest of trust? How do you trust collection? But as I still haven't had a chance to get to him yet, I want to talk about this. But let me know what you thought of your Final Fantasy XI experience. Did you roleplay? In other MMOs, were you roleplaying? Is something in an MMO, is the experience inherently in many ways roleplaying? Because so many people, their only lens to you is through the character. So all they see is you as that character, which in itself is kind of a different version of you than you. I'm way more bold in Final Fantasy XI than I ever would be in real life. So the people that know me through Final Fantasy XI probably think that I'm a much different person than I actually am. I don't know. I want to know your thoughts. Also, what are your favorite games that you think allow you to kind of flex that role-playing muscle? Single player, multiplayer, whatever. I'm excited to kind of check into some of these. What was it? Pillars of Eternity just came out as a free Epic game this week, so I'm thrilled to finally get a chance to look at that. I'm not sure if it's going to be the role-play game that I look for, but tactical RPG-wise, I heard it's fantastic. Can't wait to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. It's a door! It's a door! I rotated the door!
You son of a bitch!
Mongo lined up his fall perfectly in the
I was
door.
like, I've got this, boys.
Oh my
I'm gonna make
God.
it.